You can hear me okay? All right. So for the people in the back, I'll stand. I see you in the back. You're very good looking. Yes. All right. So dobro utro. I spoke yesterday for a few minutes, so I'm not going to repeat the story about the founding story and where Indiegogo came from and some historical context. I know we're going to have a questions and answers session here, so I'll just use this to get everybody on the same page a little bit, which is I'll give examples, real examples, not theory, about how Indiegogo has worked for different companies to become successful. So here are the examples. So there's 5 reasons why somebody should want to use Indiegogo for crowdfunding. If you go to a bank and you get rejected, it's very binary. They either say yes or they say no. If yes, you get some money with no information, and if no, you don't get money with no information. But with Indiegogo, there are 5 things that happen. Number 1, you get to validate your idea, which is very powerful. Number 2 is you get to test your marketing. Number 3 is you get more promotion than you ever could get on your own. Number 4 is you get to capture information, like their email addresses and their physical addresses, to create relationships with your customers. And number 5, you get a bunch of money. So I'll give you an example for each. So number 1, to validate an idea. So there's a company called cat ear headphones. So cat ear headphones is exactly what it sounds like. It's headphones that look like cat ears because there's a little bit of functionality, which is a speaker that goes out to the world or into your ears. So in your ears or out to the world. And it looks like cat ears on your head. Crazy, right? So there's 2 women from California who came up with this idea to have headphones like this. They tried to raise $100,000 US just to validate the idea, to see if the world would be interested. And within 3 weeks, they were able to raise $3 million. And then right away, they had to start figuring out how to manufacture it and how to make it. But the key here is if the world didn't say they were interested, these 2 women wouldn't make the cat ear headphones. They would just say, bad idea, let's move on. But the world said, good idea, with 10,000 customers from all around the world. Great. So that's number 1. So you get to validate the idea. Number 2 is you get to test your marketing. So there's a company called Misfit. So Misfit created an activity tracker. So I don't know if anybody wears any of those wristbands. They tell you like how far you walk or how many calories you spent or how far you swam or all that stuff. So Misfit is one of those companies. And they decided that they were going to offer like silver, red, and blue Misfits. They weren't going to make black Misfits. The reason they weren't going to make black Misfits is because the manufacturing process for black was more expensive than it was for the other colors. So they decided that the world would not want to pay more money for one color than they would for any other color. So the founder of the company said, I'm not going to do black. So they came onto Indiegogo, and they offered the red and the blue and the silver. And then I was talking to the founder, and I said, in your comments, there's some people that want black. And he said, yes, that's because they don't know that black is more expensive. If they knew it was more expensive, they wouldn't say they want it. And I said, you don't know that. Maybe they will pay more for black. And he says, you're crazy. No one will pay more money for the same thing in a different color. I said, I agree with you. I don't know, but you can just test your marketing. So he actually put it on Indiegogo in black. And the amazing thing that happened is he put it on Indiegogo instead of for $99, which was the price for every other Misfit, he put it on for $149, which is like 50% more for just a color. And it sold out right away. The fastest one to sell. And he didn't even understand it. He was like, people are crazy. But he got to test his marketing to see that people really wanted black. Did he need to make the black to test it? No. He was able to test the marketing before he even made the black. Then he knew black would be my most valuable color. So the third thing is you get extra promotion. So there's a product on Indiegogo called the breathometer. The breathometer could be very valuable, which is it's a little tiny device the size of like the cap here, a little tiny cap, and you plug it into your cell phone when you're ready to use it. Now, if you're drinking, maybe a little bit of vodka or something, and you're not sure if you should drive, you then breathe into this little device. It's like the size of my thumb. You plug it into your phone, you breathe into the device, and it tells you your blood level alcohol is too high. And it says you need to wait 91 minutes before you can drive. So people were like, oh, this is not a good idea. They put it on Indiegogo. We got them tons of promotion. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with a US show called Shark Tank. So Shark Tank has only ever had one company ever have all 5 sharks. There's 5 people, 5 sharks, that invest on Shark Tank. There's only been one company to ever get investments from all 5 sharks at the same exact time, and that's Breathometer. And that's because on Indiegogo, they already proved that it was a great idea, so then the sharks were like, I'm putting money in, including like Mark Cuban. So Mark Cuban loves Breathometer. So that's the third reason, lots of extra promotion. The fourth reason is you get to create a relationship. See, instead of just selling through some store and you have no idea who's buying your product, is you get to capture their information and get feedback and create a relationship. So there's a product called Canary. Canary is a bird, but actually what the Canary device is, it's a home security device. So it's a small product, a little bit bigger than a bottle like this, and you put it in your home. You just put it in your living room, and it has sensors in it. So it detects heat if there's a fire. It detects moisture if there's too much water. It detects movement if somebody's trying to steal something. It detects any cracking sounds if somebody's trying to break a window. So instead of having your home security on your windows, you know, like when somebody opens the window, the alarm goes off, and you have to do every single window differently, you don't need to do that. You could just have one Canary in your house, and it's detecting everywhere around your house. Not only that, when it goes off, it's connected to your cell phone, and it alerts you on your cell phone. You turn on your cell phone, there's cameras in the Canary. You could actually see what's going on throughout your home on your phone through the Canary. Now, the idea was funded on Indiegogo, $3 million as well. And they've kept a relationship for a few years now with their customers. They're now in every Apple store, so Apple has stores, right? Canary sells in every Apple store in the world. And it's because they maintained a relationship with their customers by getting feedback from directly their customers. And that relationship is very powerful. And obviously, a reason to use Indiegogo is to get money. So Flowhive is a very good example for getting money. Flowhive actually has no electronic technology, but is a really cool product. And it's about something that everybody here knows. It's a very old concept, honey. So in Russian, I think miod, right? There you go. So the technology behind honey hasn't changed for like 160 years, which is that concept of a box where there's bees in a box and somebody comes in a white suit, you know, with smoke and, you know, keeps the bees away, grabs the actual big things of honey, and then they peel it apart, and then they get honey. They get bit a lot, they close the box, and then they hope to get more honey, you know, in a few months or in whatever. Well, the people on Indiegogo invented something that totally changes that. So what they invented was a way to get honey like you would get beer on tap, right? So you press a tap, and honey comes out. Sounds crazy, right? This is how it works. So there's a cell system inside of a box. So this is the cell system. So the bee goes into the cell and fills it up with honey. And then the outside of the box, there's a little crank that you just turn. When you turn the crank, the cell opens up. So all the honey starts falling. Okay? Just think of that times like 1,000. And then all the honey drops to the bottom. And then they turn the crank. And then the cell closes. And the bee's still in the same box because the box never opens. And then the bee comes back to the cell and it says, oh, I thought I filled this. And then they fill it again. And then you turn the crank. And it goes down. And then you close it. And then the bee comes back. And the bee says, I thought I filled this. It actually works. It's amazing. No smoke, no biting. You just press slick beer, honey comes out the bottom. Forever. This has been sold on Indiegogo in 4 weeks. It's now it's like 2 years old now. But in 4 weeks, they sold $6 million worth in 167 countries. In 2 months, they sold $13 million worth of these boxes. It's now 2 years old. Beyond Indiegogo, they've sold nearly $100 million worth of these boxes. 100 million. That's huge, right? They invented the idea. It's two Australians. It's two people from Australia. It's a father and a son. It's the one product that has been funded in the most countries ever on any crowdfunding platform ever in the world. And it was just that simple. Pretty cool. So those are 5 reasons why you should think about using Indiegogo and how it could benefit. And then, I mentioned this yesterday, it's not only small companies and new ideas that are starting to think about how to use Indiegogo. We're starting to get the biggest companies in the world starting to want to use Indiegogo. For example, like, Budweiser, so Anheuser-Busch, the parent company of Budweiser used Indiegogo. Or Kraft. I don't know if you know like Kraft, like macaroni and cheese. I don't know if you know like Kraft, like ketchup, like all that stuff. So Kraft has used Indiegogo. But I'll just tell you one story about a big company who used Indiegogo. So GE, General Electric. Most people here know GE. GE makes many of the like the turbines to be able so that planes can fly. They make lots of stuff. But GE is a very big company. They've been around for like 150 years. They're one of the probably, 50 largest companies in the world. So they have a big refrigerator business. They sell refrigerators. Most people here probably have a refrigerator. So they sell a lot of refrigerators. Their refrigerator business is about $7.5 billion US. They're one business, just the refrigerator business, $7.5 billion US. It's like very big, just the refrigerators. And in their research group, their R&D group, they have an idea now for 20 years that's never made it into the market. And that idea is some people don't like dense ice. So most of you probably, even this morning when I had breakfast, we get hard ice. So hard ice is rectangular, dense ice. What they believe in their research group is people want chewable ice. People want porous, like with air inside of their ice, spherical ice. They want to have something that's really easy to chew. But the GE refrigerators have never made that. It's a totally different technology. So always, the way the discussion would go, it would go all the way to the top of the CEO of GE appliances, and the head of R&D would say, I want to do this year porous spherical ice. And the head of sales, the person who's responsible for all the salespeople to be able to sell the $7.5 billion, says, no, don't touch my refrigerators. My refrigerators are very good, don't touch them. If anything, maybe we can go from like an oak handle to like a cherry wood handle, but don't touch my refrigerators. So finally they said, I think I'm going to use Indiegogo to try it out. And the head of sales is like, Indiegogo, I don't care. Like, don't touch my refrigerators. The CEO is like, Indiegogo, whatever, fine, whatever. So GE, the way they sell their products is they sell them in stores with a salesperson in front of the product, and it's always a big product, a stove, an oven, a refrigerator, never little products like a small coffee maker. But the R&D group decided that we can't afford making these big refrigerators when we don't even have approval yet. So we're going to work with Indiegogo to see if we can validate if anybody even cares about chewable ice. So what we will tell them is that we're going to make a small little countertop device that can sit in your kitchen, that if you want, it'll make you some chewable ice. So they put it on Indiegogo, and they hope to get $200,000 US. And in about 3 weeks, they were able to get $2.5 million. Now, $2.5 million for GE appliances, $7.5 billion, that's like nothing. They sneeze, and they spend more money than that, right? But actually what happened was in the media, in the press, there became these stories about GE exploring this new innovation, chewable ice. It was in the New York Times, right? New York Times is a pretty big newspaper, even in America, right? It was in the New York Times, this article. So what happened is customers like you would walk into the store for the GE refrigerator, and the person would say, I would like the refrigerator with chewable ice. And then the salesperson would say, we don't have refrigerators with chewable ice. And then the customer would say, I would like the refrigerator with chewable ice. And then the salesperson says, we don't have that. And then the customer would say, look, it's on my phone, New York Times, I want the refrigerator with chewable ice. And then the salesperson says, we don't have that. And then the customer would walk out. So then the salesperson got really upset. So then they spoke to the regional salesperson and says, why don't I have the refrigerators with chewable ice? And the regional salesperson spoke to the East Coast salesperson of America, said, where's my refrigerator with chewable ice? He's like, I don't know. And then it went up to the head salesperson of the whole, thing, and he remembers the one who said, don't touch my refrigerators. And then he told the CEO, where are my refrigerators with chewable ice? So fast forward, within the next 3 years, there's going to be many refrigerators now made from GE with chewable ice, meaning the $7.5 billion line, all changed with a small little project on Indiegogo. So huge companies are starting to experiment with Indiegogo, how they can do those 5 things like I mentioned, which was 1, validate demand, 2, test your marketing, 3, get extra promotion, 4, capture information and create a relationship with your customers, and 5, make lots of money. So those are the examples. Thank you.